Let's start with how we define requirements. User requirements come directly from the users of the product. Technical requirements relate to the performance, reliability, and availability of the technology involved. Functional requirements are used to clarify specific functionality of a system. Non-functional are used to judge the operation of the system rather than the behaviors as in functional requirements. Business requirements are about how to deliver, satisfy, or meet the business needs of the organization. There are multiple techniques for gathering requirements, such as brainstorming, interviews, focus groups, observation, interface analysis, wireframing, persona design, empathy maps, user testing, and prototyping. When combined, these techniques will gather the requirements needed. But then the question becomes, what is the most effective way to use the requirements that we have spent all this time gathering? All of the different requirements are assembled into a product backlog. This backlog should be as clear and concise as possible, and the client will sign off on the product backlog as a way to avoid scope creep moving forward. Next, we take the product backlog that has been agreed upon and turn all of those requirements into stories so the engineers can accurately project their time moving forward. Ultimately, this is why requirements are so important, because the engineers can't build what they need to build, and the final product will never be what it's expected to be without the right requirements. In a recent study, it was shown that the top 5 reasons product developments fail are all directly related to how they gather requirements. They found that when you do not speak to your user, this sets you up for failure. If you gather poor business requirements, then things are going to be tough. One-sided requirements, such as only focusing on business requirements, creates so many problems. Poor technical requirements is his recipe for disaster. But what was most surprising was that many organizations don't even have a formal plan for gathering requirements at all. But there is a problem. If clients knew precisely what they wanted or needed, there would be no need to hire consultants. So what do we do when a client does not know what they want. Let's take a look in the mind of one of our clients. The reason why we are not getting the requirements is generally because of 4 different areas. They have a fear of failure. There's a lack of trust. There's a personal bias getting in the way, or they're just simply operating under a misalignment. 3 of these are very easy to overcome. If someone is operating under a misalignment, then you simply gather all the internal and external powers that be and get them in the same room and resolve the situation. If someone has a personal bias, such as they don't like a specific type of technology that they don't want to use for the project, but you feel it is required, then you simply can overcome this by providing data, as long as the bias is clearly defined. Fear of failure can be overcome by establishing a history and a track record of success and focusing on that success. The most difficult thing to overcome with a client is lack of trust, because trust changes the way you view the world. If your client doesn't trust you, then betrayal is waited for and assumed. There's an overwhelming need to separate themselves from you. Mistakes are considered proof of dishonesty, and you'll view a decreased morale and performance. And gathering requirements in this atmosphere is almost impossible. If you have lost the trust of your client, there's 3 things that you have to do to get back on track. First, you have to be consistent in your change. You have to be authentic, and you have to be empathic. You then have to take ownership of the problem, prioritizing and keeping and fulfilling all of your commitments. Under-promise while you're over-delivering. And most important of all, you have to stay above their frustration. Do not get drawn into their frustration. You have to be the light out of the tunnel. Once you do that, you'll see that requirements will start flowing again. Because in the end, we are not actually in the business of design, development, or even software. As consultants, we must never forget that we are actually in the business of trust.